Tandem Nomads, episode 157. It is so normal that a lot of expat partners experience a deep sense of loss of identity or even depression if they have to continuously start over from one relocation to another. So here is what I think it's super important to do instead of trying to prepare the next move abroad. Hello, Nomad Nation. Welcome to Tandem Nomads, the podcast show and entrepreneurship platform where you can find great inspiration and tips to grow a successful portable business and thrive in your global nomadic life. This is your host, Amel Deregi. I'm a business and marketing coach and the founder of Tandem Nomads. Today, I want to talk to you about something that I recurrently repeat in this podcast show, but in different contexts and different episodes. So I want to make a whole episode just to dedicate to this one big, important message I want to share with you today. Because it happens very often when clients come to me or even organizations approach me to speak at their events, that they come to me with a request about how to prepare your next move, which is a great question, obviously, right? But I think there is a bigger question to ask yourself when you live the expat life instead of thinking about how you can prepare your next move. And I'm going to just jump in right away by telling you that the most important thing to prepare and to think about, it's not your next move. It is what is your big goal and your big picture as an individual and as a family when you live on the move. And this is also true, and probably especially true, when you want to run a successful portable business. You need to think about the long term. Because one expatriation, one move abroad often leads to the next one. And if you constantly have the feeling that you're starting from scratch, that you have to reinvent yourself constantly, that you have to learn everything about how to start and how to build your life from scratch, it is normal that you get exhausted. It is normal that in certain cases, a lot of spouses, for example, end up with a deep sense of loss of identity. And it is also normal that sometimes as a family we go through some challenges because we need to find how to navigate this as a family on the move where we constantly have to start over from scratch. So a lot of companies, for example, who send their employees abroad and that's a great thing, spend quite a bit of budgets in order to provide language trainings, intercultural trainings, and everything necessary to actually settle in that country. But although this is really, really necessary, I do think that it's highly important and also urgent to start requesting for a preparation that's more for the long term. So I do invite you, if you're just starting in this journey, or if you are in this journey since a long time and still struggling, try to think about what you want for the long term and not just for this next move. And request for support or invest in yourself for support in order to find out, how can you make this experience on the move a successful experience for you, and what does that mean for you? What do you want? I repeat, what do you want from this experience, and why are you hopping on this journey, whether you're doing it alone or with your family? This is such a crucial question. I know that a lot of people jump on this expatriation experience the first time because it is so exciting to be able to live on the move, discover new countries, new cultures, and it is such a blessing. It is such a blessing to be able to live this life. But this is a real life, and humans by nature are creators of habits. And if your habits are constantly disrupted, it is so normal that it becomes challenging. So this is why I really want today to talk to you about some of the directions I want to help you to think about the long term instead of only preparing your next move. Because I know that a lot of the time the next move is all about what's the next school, what's the next housing looking up like, what are the cultural things we need to prepare about, eventually the language. All these things are great things to think about. But these will just be small elements that will not mean much to you once you have left the country, and will not help you think about how this makes sense for you on the long term as you build your life experience on the move. So my big message here is, if you have a clear picture of how you want to lead your expat life experience, as well as your portable business, the logistical aspects of each relocation will be so much easier. I'm not saying that finding a home, schools, network, adapting, unpacking, settling down will be easier, but I'm saying that, first of all, the decision of when you want to say yes or no to an opportunity will be easier, because you will know to what you're comparing it to. What are your references to say yes or no? And also, having that big picture will make you feel that those challenges are worth it, because you know where you are heading. And that is the one big challenge that I see a lot of expats struggling with. The cause comes the fact that they don't know where they're heading on the long term. And I know, even if you don't move and live constantly on the move, nobody can know what the future holds, right? But it is up to you to really reflect on what you really want for yourself and your family. What are your values? What are your aspirations? It doesn't mean that this has to not change. This is not going to be engraved in stone, but you need to sit down and work on these important questions in order to make the right decisions for those short-term relocations and moves. I hope I made this big point. So I think this is my biggest message here for you. So now, what should you focus instead of just preparing your next move? As I said, it is finding your big why. What you want to do, and what do you really want for your life, career, and family and business to look like? These are important questions to ask yourself. So obviously, it is not always easy to find their answer, as you might maybe have already experienced yourself. You cannot just wake up one day and know exactly how you want to plan your life and to look like, and what are your aspirations, especially if you're looking to build a portable business or a career on the move. It's not always easy to know what you really want, and that's okay. That's really okay. As long as you don't just let that simmer and just drop it because it's too difficult to answer that question. Just the fact that you're aware about it is very, very important. But then if you see that you struggle to find those answers, as you know, I always recommend to really make sure to invest in the help you need to be able to figure that out. And this is why I want to make that big calling to all expats as well as organizations, while you prepare yourself or your employees to really make the best of the next move abroad. It is important to make sure that we prepare and how we're making it fit to the big picture. And for that, we need to know the big picture. So spend time to figure that out so that your preparation for the next move can be successful. And this is in the interest of the companies as well. If a company has to invest, for example, for a preparation for each move, it will be so much easier when people know, and also cheaper adaptation and faster adaptation when people know why they're doing what they're doing and what is their big picture on the scene. Because just the travel opportunity turns out to not be enough when we make this our lifestyle. Because travel has become part of our lifestyle, now we need to make that fit into what we really want. I think I made my case there, and I do know that it's not easy to answer that question. I'm not going to give you all the insights here, but I will share with you some great resources where I highly invite you, if you are in that place where you need to figure out your big why as a person, as a member of a family, but also if you want to find your calling and your sense of purpose, on the move. So go to tandemnomads.com/157 and I will list all the episodes that I have around this topic, starting with my great friend and partner, Sunday Bean. Sunday Bean is truly my go-to resource when it's about defining your big why, knowing what is your purpose, and knowing where you want to lead your life as a person, as a leader, as an individual. So I highly recommend you to check that episode where Sunday and I talked about the 3 steps to find what is it that you want to do with your career and your life. Make sure to check it out. It is fantastic. There's also another great resource that I recommend, especially when you want to look at as a family, what can you do to have these conversations on top of Sunday's Beans podcast show that I really, really recommend you to listen to on a regular basis. She has so many great episodes about this. I also recommend her partner, Jerry Jones, who is an amazing writer and interculturalist as well as Sunday. And he also has some great tools for parenting to ask those right questions and also have those right conversations in the family in order to figure out this journey together. And finally, there's another resource that I highly recommend for families who are multicultural, because this adds a huge dynamic to the mix when the parents are from different countries, different backgrounds, and living on different continents and moving from a country to another. And this resource is Mariam Otomo-Fiore. She's also a great friend and also an author of a book called My Messy Mobile Life that I absolutely highly recommend to you if you are in that situation. So make sure to check these resources out, on top of the famous book that you must know, which is The Third Culture Kids from David Pollock and Ruth Van Rycken. So I'm going to put all these resources in the show notes of this episode. Go to tandemnomads.com/157. But make sure, Nomad Nation, to sit down and think about these crucial questions. So now I want to give you a little more insights for me that I want to share with you from my experience, my personal experience, and working with my clients, and especially related to your career and building your business on the move, because I think that's another dynamic that I see a lot of people thinking about their careers, thinking about their business, but again, focusing on the next country, saying, oh, okay, I know that in 6 months I'm going to move to this country. So now I have time to prepare and make sure that I can do something there. And that's the moment where I start, really feeling uneasy when I hear that, because I'm like, no, wait, don't just plan for that next country, because you're going to end up in the same situation once you leave again. And of course you end up exhausted. And of course you end up tired and loss of confidence and don't believe in yourself because you've started so many ventures and couldn't finish them because it was time to go. So please, Nomad Nation, don't think about your next move when you plan your career and your business, because this is a guarantee for challenges and eventually also failure if you only focus on the short term of what you're going to do in that country. So another message before I share with you some of the tips about how to make sure that your business is portable, which is obviously the whole point of Tandem Nomads podcast show. Every episode has something to do with that. But I want today to talk more about the mindset behind how I see that we all as humans tend to deal with challenges and try to fix them. And my biggest message here is, Nomad Nation, don't look for the easy idea that you can implement right away just because it makes you feel like you are doing something. Unless it is serving a bigger picture that hopefully by now you know what it is. But I've seen too many people just trying to get busy. And I don't know if you heard that, but I've heard a lot of times, especially expat partners saying, I'm keeping myself busy. And this is an honest statement, right? It is an honest statement, but I really start getting worried when I hear that, because instead of trying to get busy and keep yourself busy, what you need to do is to be strategic about how you are filling your time to move forward to that big picture that you have. So this is why I'm really urging all of you Nomad Nation who are listening is make sure that you are observing and honest to yourself with how you're spending your time while in that new country, in that relocation, and that whatever you're doing is actually serving the bigger picture. Even if it's volunteering, for example, your volunteering has to support you in what you want to do on the long term. And please don't just start with something that feels easy, especially if it's not fitting to that big picture. So obviously, you need to know what is that picture, as I said, but I also don't want you to confuse don't just do anything and don't do just something because it feels easy with the whole thing about another thing that I see people do is reflect too long and just keep thinking about things instead of doing something. If you know me by now, you should know that I always say start first and perfect later, or instead of thinking, do, because by doing you will have your answers. But when you do and take action, make sure that it is on the way to where you want to go and not just something that keeps you busy for the sake of being busy. And I hope you see the whole difference here between keeping yourself busy and taking action, even if it's the small action, to start getting the answers you need to figure out your journey. I hope that you can see here my message, because I think that's super important and big distinctions that I really, really want to make. But basically, what I invite you to do is to simply be honest to yourself, and whenever you see yourself trying to get busy or to take action, depends on which perspective you see it, ask yourself, are you doing this as a plaster to fill a void that you have in you? Or are you really doing this strategically to move one step forward to where you want to be? That is the important question you need to ask yourself in order to move forward and to make sure that you're building up from one experience abroad to another, that you're growing instead of starting from scratch again and again. That is so important. And now I want to talk specifically about starting a business. And you know how dear to my heart is this topic about making sure that your business is truly, truly portable. And I have a lot of episodes where I explain the things you need to think about. So make sure to go to the show notes of this episode on tandemnomads.com/157. And there I will list all the episodes that can really teach you step by step what makes a business portable and what you need to think about. So I'm not going to cover that today. But my goal, as much as I talked this whole episode about the importance to think about the big picture for you as a person, for you as a family, you need to do that same work for you as an entrepreneur. What is that big picture and that big mission and your big why behind your entrepreneur journey? That's the first thing. But also the second is make sure that whatever you're doing is portable, that you don't have to leave that country and start all over from scratch, because I can understand how devastating that must be, and almost worse as leaving a job behind. Because when you leave a job behind, you had your salary, you had gotten paid for what you did. When you have a business and you just start, very rarely you get to be able to pay yourself right away. So all that work and that energy just go away because you have to start all over from scratch. Obviously, of course, you have learned a lot. Of course, you have gained a lot of experience, but you can't keep doing that from a country to another. And you have everything you need to be able to grow. So right now, it's about building the right foundations for the long term for you to grow as a successful entrepreneur, so that you don't have to start again from scratch. So if you are working on starting or growing your business and you know that you are likely to move to another country very soon, please do not make your decisions based on that country. If you're in a moment where you're ready and motivated to start something new and successful and build the right foundations for really successful and sustainable business on the long term, and you know that you're likely to move again, not just to the next country, but continue to move, then please don't build a business only based on that next move. That will really start making you make the wrong decisions, because it will, again, be based on something that's short term and not fitting to the big picture of where you're moving. Make sure that your business is built in a portable way and not location dependent. That is my big call for you. And as I said, if you want to know how to do it, keep listening to this podcast episodes. Go to tandemnomads.com/157. You will also find there my workbook on how to find out how to build a successful portable business. And I have all the resources for you here. So just stay tuned with me and we'll keep working together on that. But this is where it starts, making sure that you're not planning to simply build something for the next country where you're moving. That is my biggest message for you here, Nomad Nation. This is a small and short episode. I just felt like I needed to do my shout out. What I've seen too many times done very wrong in the expat field by simply getting too focused on the next move, on preparing the next move, and also supporting the employees only with trainings for the next move, instead of inviting yourself, your family, and your company or your employees to think about the long term. Where does this fit the big picture, and how to make sure that every move is one stepping stone that completes that big picture, because this is real life. You cannot live your life just with short-term experiences. These short-term experiences need to be able to fill that big picture. All right, Nomad Nation, I can't wait to hear what you think about this episode. Please leave your comments in the show notes of the episodes and tell me, what is for you your biggest challenge now on the move, and what is the biggest challenge you've experienced on the move? I'd love to know more about your experiences and have this conversation with you. So go to tandemnomads.com/157 and let's keep going with this conversation. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned to turn your challenges into great opportunities.